brought me down to the room of death. The two kids are on either side of me. One of them whispered, goes, "We kill you. We kill you now."
Images of American journalist and author Theo Padnos, posted while he was kidnapped and tortured for 2 years in Syria in 2012 by al-Nusra, the former affiliate of Al-Qaeda, are horrific. A sheer reminder of the brutality of such terrorist groups. Since his release, he has been raising awareness against extremism and de-radicalisation, a real message of hope and peace. You were a hostage of Al-Qaeda for almost 2 years. You spend a lot of time with these people. Did you ever feel that some of the younger captors could be de-radicalised, and could it even be an option for them, or are they there forever?
They're there forever. A lot of those kids are in deep trouble. It's because the important men in their lives won't let them go. So you know, there's some kids that like grow out of it, or they're just not that into it in the first place. But it's a society-wide problem that's happening in Syria. It's across the generations, and it's very, very hard for a young person when all the important spiritual and moral authorities in his community are like, do this.
The Not Born a Radical campaign, launched by the International Observatory of Human Rights, tackles the root causes of radicalisation and provides a progressive platform for educating and empowering the youth, our future.
It's not a thing that you're born with, but it certainly comes from the environment. And I think the kids that like had some self-possession and knew who they were from the beginning, they didn't really they didn't go down the worst of the past, and they were able to extricate themselves. Anyway, I always believe that if you make a mistake in life, like a lot of these kids got involved in something that they knew was wrong, they let themselves feel that it was wrong, and they came out. So you gotta listen to your conscience. I mean, whatever you think is right is probably right if your heart is telling you. That's what I think. Listen to your heart. That's a pop song, but it's also true. Do you watch stuff do you watch like videos from Syria and Iraq ever?
No, but I watch, sometimes there's these protesters, and...
You watch the protesters in Syria?
No, the ones that are in London,
yeah.
And they're protesting against like people that are radicalised and they're not radicalised, and like saying that Muslims are like terrorists and like generalising and being like that, yeah.
Do you have, I mean, there are protests against like basically Muslims.
Yeah.
In England.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think of those guys? Those people are radical.
Yeah, I think they are, but I think that their views on Muslims like myself are differentiated by
ignorant.
They are ignorant, but they're just like, because of what they've seen through one person or a group of people, they just generalize throughout everyone, which is obviously wrong.
Can you imagine like spending a lot of time on the internet and then having your religious views changed?
Yeah, but I guess because of my family and because of the people around me, it wouldn't affect me as great as it would have, because I think at a certain point the people around me would tell me that this is wrong, but I don't spend as much time on the internet as I guess other people do. So.
Right.
Theo is gaining their thoughts and views on the Not Born a Radical campaign. It's been a lively workshop and an interesting day, and here's what they had to say.
To spread the ideas, the values of the Not Born a Radical campaign, what do you have to do?
I think to spread the ideas and the campaign, I think targeting mosques and churches and other like religious places, talking to them, talking to people there, talking to like the higher power people in charge like of prayers or something like that. That will help, because obviously if they have a general idea of what's happening in the mosque, and they can talk to people that might get radicalized or have radical thoughts. So I think that's a good way of like making this campaign like bigger.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about the best way to spread the Not Born a Radical campaign?
I think the best way to do it is to start with like young people, because they're sort of like the seeds in the community. They're the ones that are going to grow up and form into the community, or like one's going to be, and they're going to spread the message amongst like their children. So if you start with young people,
how
you
young?
can like around our age, if not younger, because you want to go to a point where they're not too old, where their thoughts can't exactly be changed, but you also want to stay kind of young so you can sort of talk to them like honestly. So if you can talk to young people, and they can, when they grow up, they're going to spread their thoughts to other people as well, and when that spreads among communities, then you're going to get a good message overall.
Right. Tell me your thoughts about that.
I think using social media, because now we're in an age where everyone's on social media, so that'll be a really good platform to get a lot of people, because it's like it's cheaper and there's a lot more people you can access there. So I think that would be a really good thing to do.
So I will ask you, do you have any thoughts about the best way to spread the message or the ideas behind this Not Born a Radical campaign?
I think it should start with families in their own homes, so they should talk to each other, because radicalisation happens when someone is isolated from families and friends. And I think it should...
Isolated from families and friends, you say?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there should be a better connections between friends and families.
I'm the director of the International Observatory of Human Rights, which is a long thing to say, so we say IOHR and makes it much easier. So I'm really glad I've got Theyre with me today, and what we're going to do is a quick exercise that's talking about, we've got a campaign running which is Not Born a Radical, and that's quite a mouthful as well. So what we're trying to do is think about different hashtags and what it means to you.
Extremism isn't in my blood.
I determine my future.
Islam does not equate to radical.
Hashtag two truths.
Hashtag we're all intertwined.
Who came up with Islam does not equate to radical?
And that was me.
Yeah, why did you think of that?
Because I think there's a very popular notion that Islam is always linked to terrorism and radicalisation, but in actual fact it's in all of us, and I think that just because someone's from a particular religion doesn't mean that they are necessarily radical.
Of course not.
That's what that was trying to portray basically.
Theyre, tell me what you learned from the Not Born a Radical campaign workshop here today.
What I learned was, from hearing Theo's experience, that it does have quite a big effect on people, whether that's no matter where they come from or who they are. But it does affect everyone in general.
I think you hear about stuff like this on the news and you empathise with the person, but it doesn't really hit you until you actually meet the person, and the whole situation seems so much more real and so much more closer to home when you meet the person who's been through that psychological and emotional distress.
Theyre, when you were talking to the young people about radicalisation and the dangers involved, what kind of reaction did you get from them?
I felt that they were very engaged and interested in the topic. They're young kids who they have their whole futures before them, and clearly they wouldn't be here if they weren't ready to discuss this, and a lot of them are just curious young people, so I enjoyed chatting with them.